With the next round of regional championships right around the corner, it's time to take a look at the Pioneer format to see what has shifted since last season and determine to what degree the standout cards from Wilds of Eldraine or the Lost Caverns of Ixalan have impacted the format. First, a deck that died and has since risen from the ashes once again, is it Phoenix? All it took was the reprinting of one key card in Wilds of Eldraine, Sleight of Hand, and Phoenix decks have shot up to 14% of the Pioneer metagame in the last 2 weeks. Giving the deck another cheap 1-mana cantrip pushed it back into the top tier of Pioneer, as Seth Manfield demonstrated by cruising to a first-place finish in last weekend's Magic Online Challenge with the deck. His updated version looks leaner and meaner than the lists we were used to seeing a year or two ago. Gone are the 11-mana Temporal Trespasses and Things in the Ice. A low-to-the-ground 18 land with 2 MDFCs, mana base is all you need with this much card selection, and with efficient 1-mana removal like Fiery Impulse and Lightning Axe, and counter magic like Spell Pierce and Disdainful Stroke out of the sideboard, it's easy to play the control role as you sit back and watch Ledger Shredder or a couple Arclight Phoenixes take chunks out of your opponent's life total. Watch for this deck to make a comeback in these upcoming regional championships. Now let's take a look at one of the new decks to show up on the scene in recent months, Rona Combo. The deck is trying to assemble the combo of Rona, Herald of Invasion, Retraction Helix, and Mox Amber, allowing you to tap the Mox for blue mana to cast the Helix on Rona, then tapping Rona to bounce the Mox. When you recast the Mox, this untaps Rona due to her static ability, and now you have a fresh Mox that can tap for 1 mana and an untapped Rona that can bounce it again. Rinse and repeat, and voila, infinite mana. With a Tivar Jubilant Brawler in play, you can use the -2 ability to mill yourself, then return Tivar to hand with Rona, Helix, and recast it in order to mill your entire deck, and to find Diligent Excavator, which can then start targeting your opponents to mill them to death and end the game. The deck is powerful and fast, with nut draws being able to win as early as turn 3. This makes it a strong choice against mid-range decks like Rakdos and decks that don't interact in the early turns like Mono Green Devotion. This list took down a 167-player regional championship tournament last month and is a great place to start refining this potent combo deck. Another deck that can steal games out of nowhere is Boros Convoke, which sits at a healthy 10% of the Pioneer metagame over the last 2 weeks of tournaments. The deck can dump its hand onto the board extremely quickly, powering out a massive Regal Bunnycorn, or just jamming a turn 3 Embercleave to deal lethal damage. With cards like Gleeful Demolition and Resolute Reinforcements putting multiple bodies onto the field for just 1 or 2 mana, it's easy to slam a Venerated Loxodon to pump the team for huge damage, or a Knight Errant of Eos to keep the gas flowing. An aggressive 20-land mana base means there's a lot of action to find, and with new addition Imodane's Recruiter pumping your creatures and giving them haste, there are also a lot of ways to punish any stumbles from your opponents. If you don't pack enough anti-aggro cards in the sideboard, this deck will steamroll you, and I expect it to show up in at least a couple regional qualifier top 8s. Our last deck is one that made waves in Modern years ago, Humans. This time with only 4 colors, and not 5. With the Lost Caverns of Ixalan bringing the potent Cavern of Souls to Pioneer, many players are speculating about multicolored humans making a comeback. There is no shortage of powerful humans to play, from Thalia Guardian of Thraben to Thalia's Lieutenant, or Adeline, Resplendent Cathar, and Reflector Mage. There are even new additions from the latest set, like Inti, Seneschal of the Sun, or Kellen, Daring Traveler. With collected company to throw them onto the battlefield at the most opportune times, this deck can snowball very quickly. However, it's missing some key pieces compared to previous versions of Humans, namely 1-drops like Champion of the Parish and Aether Vial, which may prove to be too big of a hole to fill in this deck. Regardless, it will be interesting to see if multicolored Humans can make a splash in the current Pioneer metagame.